Yeah. You know, I think, do you iron yours? You iron your shirt, don't you?
Does it look like I do?
I'm not sure. You look a little bit, actually, maybe not. You
Because
look a little bit more.
if it does, then the answer is yes.
Okay, well, okay. I know that I don't. So I was just curious there. You're always the stylish one. Although I have to say, you're less stylish now that we're matching each other. If we gave you a little bit of freedom, I think you would become um, more stylish.
You know, here I was trying to bring you up, Brent, and you're just knocking me down here.
I'm knocking you down. Yes, that's right. Thank you for looking to bring me up. It's like you're like looking at me, like the empathy that was pouring out of you and saying, if I let Brent, like because you're known for your style, and so if you kind of match me, then everybody will say, oh, Brent is also stylish. Just bleed from your the bleed over from your glow.
That's right. It's just it just rubs off.
All right. Hey, listen, we haven't been doing this we missed 2.
This is our first April show.
This is our first April show, and so I've got some new material.
Ooh, some fresh jokes.
Fresh jokes. These aren't actually mine, but that's okay. So are you ready for this?
Hit me.
All right. And these ones, I really like them. My daughter sends them to me, and then I'm like, oh, okay, got to use that on the show. Okay. So what concert costs just 45 cents?
50 cent on a discount?
Oh, close. Close. Very close. 50 cent with Nickelback opening. Hey, everybody.
There it is.
What you come here for. Marketing is not really what you come here for. You come here for the opening. All right, for everybody who's coming in and joining us, our show starts in 4 minutes, something like that. You got a countdown on the screen. This is the pre-show, just because we do this live, and we just want all of you to come on in and enjoy some really epic comedy moments. Okay.
We'll be here all week, folks.
Yeah. All right. Next one. You ready?
Born ready, Brent.
Okay. I just have to check. Just got to check and just got to prepare.
Just got to brace myself here, first of all.
You got to brace yourself. You get a little punch in the gut. All right. I made an appointment at the dentist the other day. Yes. At 2:30.
I think I've heard that joke before, but like worded a little bit differently. It's like what's the dentist's favorite time of day? That's what it was. 2:30. Yeah, because it's got to speak to the evil and just the sheer just like darkness of the dentist. You know
what? That's better. That's actually better. It's much better. I like that way better. I mean, typical haircut. I noticed. Did you get your haircut?
I cut it all the time.
No, you're supposed to say, sorry, did you get a haircut?
Yes, all of them.
They're good. Yes. Every single time you have to say that. Okay. If children is something that you want, you've got to, like, if you want to manifest children, and I'm not saying that you do, right? But if you want to manifest children, you've got to tell that joke every single time somebody says, hey, did you get a haircut? You says, yes, all of them. Or you say, no, I got all of them cut. That's how, like, literally you say, okay, I want this. I want relationship, children, all that kind of stuff. And just that, you have to do that.
Just gotta feel it. Just gotta put that in the universe.
I would say that goes for male and female, right? I mean, I know these are considered dad jokes, but I think it's just more masculine energy jokes, not necessarily specifically dad. Women or female identifying or whatever you want to can also do masculine energy jokes. I don't know. Actually, I feel like I'm getting myself in some hot water there. All right. Not politically. Oh, we're almost done. Geez, I'm just going to talk this one out. We're almost ready to go.
See if we can keep
excited
this
about
alive
today's
without burning it to the ground first before we get
Right.
on.
Yeah. Let's get out of this. All right.
You've tuned in to COVID Marketing with
Somebody
Brent
freshened up.
Kobayashi and Arthur Tutt, the show to support small business not just to survive, but to thrive.
All right, we are live with COVID Marketing episode number 136. That show that is supporting you, not just to survive all of this stuff that's happening, but to thrive. Every Tuesday at 11 Eastern Standard Time. If you have questions on marketing or business or whatever, you let us know in the comments wherever you find folk are seeing this. I'm Brent Kobayashi, president of Kobayashi Zeitguys, a marketing agency here in Toronto, Canada. With me is Mr. Arthur Tutt, a marketing specialist at the KZ.
And if you like Brent's butterfly sunglasses, make sure you smash that like and subscribe and notify button so you never miss one of our shows.
I lost my I didn't lose my butterfly sunglasses. We're shutting down the office. As you know, the people in the audience don't know. That's usually where I do the show. But it's like, no, we're so distributed now. It makes no sense to carry that rent. It costs us a fair bit of money. We'd rather put that somewhere else. And so I was cleaning things up and I misplaced them. So this is from my other, this is what I could find lying around.
I was gonna say that was an unexpected segue. Hey Brent, you've got nice butterfly sunglasses. Oh yes, we're shutting down the office.
Yeah, that's why I have these ones on today. Yeah, I know. It's one of my favorite places. It's the place that made this show. Fun historical fact. And the idea of shooting it at the office, because we used to shoot it here at the beginning of the pandemic, like a year ago. But the idea of doing it at the office was so that the show would be less abysmal. That was their feedback. If you shoot at the office, your show will be less abysmal.
You know, showcase.
Or actually, maybe not abysmal.
Showcase off the beautiful office.
Yeah.
You know, annoy everybody who's working in the office. It'd be great, not just Rich.
I know. Well, I mean, it was mostly empty.
No, I just mean like if we were there.
If we were there, yeah, if we were there, I would still do it. I would love to have a full office and me screaming for a half an hour. It would be my favorite thing. Everybody would be like, okay, this is lunch break and we're all leaving for lunch. We're going to go together. It would be a good bonding moment for the rest of the team to have an adversary from which to bond over, right? So that's what but you know, future dreams, I'll manifest it. I don't know what joke I need to tell to manifest the new office. I need to tell a viral joke. That's what I need to do, to be so viral, and then we get lots of money, and then we just get another office, because it doesn't matter if we're using it or not, right? Okay, let's do this.
It's coming. Like, we've been putting in our 10,000 hours.
Yeah. Like literally, we're probably up to 1,000 hours, maybe 500 hours, something like that.
Well, what is this, episode 136?
136. We've probably done 150 because some of them were Kill the Gurus. So that's a half an hour each. So that's like 75 hours.
Some of them
or 75 hours of 10,000 hours.
Some of them.
The world is going to get a lot more of this.
Some of these have gone for a solid hour. Like I'd be willing to give us like at least 100 hours plus.
Okay, we're at 100 hours. We're 1% of the way there. Yep. All right. So this episode, we have cool things from the marketing world. So what we're going to do is we're going to dig into this whole, people are kind of calling it a feud between Apple and Facebook, right? So this has been brewing. It's in the marketing world. A lot of advertisers are concerned about it. Facebook's certainly concerned about it. And basically what's happened is Apple's new operating system that they introduced last June, and they've kept on kind of pushing off this final thing that's going to be happening. I think it's happening now, which is that when you install Facebook or any of the apps on the new iOS 14, so if you've got the latest, not everybody's going to be on iOS 14, but most people get upgraded. It requires apps to ask the user's permission to track them. This is like a privacy thing, at least from Apple's perspective. And so what'll happen is up on the screen will pop up. I think Morgan will show this up on the screen, and a little pop-up will come up when you install the app, and it says, do you want to allow Facebook to track your activity across other companies' web apps and websites, not just Facebook, because when you're in Facebook, they can track you within Facebook. And, you know, phone people have the option to say, no, I'm going to remove what's called an identifier, it's called the IDFA identifier. And this is asked not just for Facebook, for every single app that you download that wants to track you. A lot of your free apps, by the way, Facebook included, but all the little free apps, like I have an alarm app and all that type of stuff, they make money by adding oftentimes Facebook's identifier through the Facebook SDK, and they can monetize the app by allowing user activities to be tracked there. So this is more than just the Facebook app itself. It's a broad ecosystem of being able to track what we do online.
One thing I'll just add quickly there, I was going to say the proverb, but I think that makes it a little bit grandiose, but what people say is that, you know, when you get something for free, you are the product.
Yeah, absolutely. In exchange, like, listen, you know, it costs a lot of money
to hire a developer.
To hire a developer. It costs, I mean, think of hundreds of millions of dollars to develop and host and all that kind of stuff, Facebook and WhatsApp and Messenger and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And at the beginning, it seemed fairly straightforward, right? Oh, okay, every now and then you show me an ad. It's like watching TV and you see advertising on it. We naturally understand, at least a lot of people, that, well, maybe not so much anymore, but when you're watching YouTube, or sorry, if you go back, let's not go to YouTube. Let's just go to broadcast cable, over the air, free to watch. And the way the company on the other end makes money is because they sell advertising, and they figure out how to figure out what the demographics of it is through surveys that, you know, certain age group watches Seinfeld, and therefore I can sell advertising to people that want to advertise to that certain age group or demographic. A very, very, very basic, broad matched kind of just doing stuff. What happens with Facebook especially, but all of them, is they're like, we're not going to do that. We're going to track your behavior. It's like as if somebody's watching you as you walk around outside. Where do you shop? What do you like to buy? What's going on in your life? Oh, you're taking a look. I mean, the most famous one is you were looking at pregnancy kits. So therefore, or testing kits, and therefore I'm going to start advertising you within the market of you might be having a child, right? And there's been, that's an old one where, and so Apple is saying, no, that's not in our users' best interest. Our users' best interest, because they're very focused on their user, because they do not have the advertising platform that Facebook has, might be one cynical way of looking at it, is their privacy might be important to them. And so for the people who are important to them, then we're going to give them that option. And so they're really staking themselves out as that type of company. Facebook's kind of counter argument or concern or whatever, their business model is it could be impacted, is this could hurt small business, right? So now let's dig into this.
Well, do you want to start with the small business one as a first starting off point? Because I think that's an interesting one. That's probably not kind of intuitively obvious to most people, the connection between privacy and tracking and why that impacts small business owners.
Yep. So right now, right at this moment, and certainly past, and it will change, is Facebook advertising for small business owners.
I was going to
B2B,
just
B2C.
Just to be clear, we're talking about business owners who are advertising on platforms like Facebook.
Exactly.
Right.
Is really good. It's cheap. It's effective. It's great for targeting. You can figure out in-market audiences. It can sometimes take a little bit of time for the algorithm to optimize itself because it has all of this data. But basically, when you heard the concept of big data, that's what you get for $1,000 a month, is big data. So you can literally say, I'm trying to sell this thing. you do some stuff, and it does take a little bit of skill and effort and Googling if you're doing it yourself. But once you get going, Facebook can say, I am going to sell your stuff. And they get really good at getting you in front of the people that want to buy your stuff. From a consumer perspective, some people would say that's a great thing. Obviously, there's more of a argument to be said there. But Facebook is one of the platforms for advertising that is still ridiculously good for small businesses.
Right, because a small business owner with a small budget can say, I want to go on Facebook, I want to advertise this, and get very hyper specific with who they want to reach. And they can use that precision to their advantage versus, say, a big brand like Procter and Gamble that's going to be kind of more broadly advertising to everybody is kind of where you're going with that.
Well, I mean, Procter and Gamble, like everybody's understood this, right? It took a while for the bigger brands to catch up because they had a big spend on TV and all that kind of stuff. But they're there, and they are certainly going to be increasing the prices a little bit. But because Facebook has such a huge, we'll call it inventory of stuff to sell, meaning a lot of people who are going through Facebook. Mm-hmm. And Instagram, right? So there's a lot of inventory, a lot of eyeballs, and they can slice and dice it so much. So unlike, Seinfeld, you got, 3-minute spot, and that's going to be, to get in front of millions of people, that's going to be really expensive, and it's going to only go to the big brands. Now you can slice and dice that to the nth degree so that you're advertising against 3,000 people at this point in this day and 3 times a day, but there's also 100 other people that can also do that, and there's competition for those eyeballs, but it's not saturated anywhere near as much as what the mass media used to be.
I guess what I was trying to say with the Procter and Gamble point is that for Procter and Gamble, they're not to say they're necessarily happy with this, but they are more okay advertising to a general broad audience because they have the money they can put behind it. Whereas I think what we were saying before is the small business owner needs that precision to be effective.
Okay, so yes, absolutely. So basically part of what happens with this is it's just straight simple. Your advertising costs go up. You can't be as targeted as you used to be. The algorithm won't work as well. And that means that because the advertising goes up, in order to get the same amount of results, you have to show it to more people who may not really be in your target audience at the beginning. So there's more of a process. So Procter and Gamble can go mass. They can also go targeted, even if it costs them a little bit more. And the other thing is, and this is one of the interesting arguments on this, is the big companies know how to get around this. They've got big data of which they're going to, an old one was tying into your Visa statements. And what's the, and matching, there's all those reward points that you get, air miles, Aeroplan, all that kind of stuff. That's all tracking your behavior so they can target you with advertising. Air miles is mostly free. I think some of the ones you pay for a little bit of a monthly or a yearly a yearly fee for it, but for the most part, it's paid for by selling your data, your usage data, in more and more discrete, fine ways that are targeting you specifically, not just you generally.
And not to get off track, but so that would have been more for direct mail advertising. Would that be fair to say?
I'm sure they've gone digital. It's everywhere. There's no way. So yes, direct mail initially might be more where it was focused on, and there's a lot of different ways. I don't actually understand that one fully. I just know that was done. So yeah, okay. That's what's going on.
So where does that leave us then? Is that, because I know a lot of people have been some people have been making a really big deal about this of okay, this is the collapse of online advertising. This is the collapse of the free internet. Everything's going to be over. Is is it as, you know, dramatic and wide scale as that? And also, just to give some context, is this all advertising? Because we're talking about iOS, so presumably Android is unaffected, and presumably the desktop experience is also unaffected. So we're just talking about the iOS experience on an iPhone. So that, I mean, they have a big market segment, but it's still just a market segment.
Correct. I mean, it's big enough that it's important. Also, if it is appreciated by the users, it will spread, right? Because the marketplace dictates these things.
Right. So if Android users say like, we want that too.
Yeah, there will be an Android build, like Samsung or whoever will say, we are also doing this. And then another one and another one. If more people buy that, and the percentage that we can sell more of these devices because of this, then we'll do it this way. Now, Google is a little bit more, because Google is, for the most part, the one that controls Android. They're a little bit more on the Facebook side because they get a lot of advertising revenue as well. Apple is probably one of the only ones that really is like, no, we sell a product that people buy, and it's their experience, specifically the people who buy the product. In other words, basically what's happening is the rest of the industry, not entirely, but a lot of the industry is either free or discounted, and the people are the product. Apple is the product's the product, you buy the product, and therefore this is why it's this kind of divide has been happening a little bit. But I can still see it spreading. Absolutely, it'll spread. We've been talking about privacy, I think, for 10 years now. It's been talked about and talked about and talked about and talked about. And I think everybody's, you know, either you'll see that people really don't care, because people didn't care when it took them 3 or 4 clicks to figure it out, because you could turn this off before. You literally, you go to settings, you go to privacy. You say,
right. Anybody had the option before, and now it's just a pop-up that comes up every time you download a new app.
So nobody cared enough to really do it, because it was always an option. Now, are you going to be like, no, I don't want to be tracked anymore? I think you'll be surprised, depending on what. So Facebook has an opportunity, and all the other apps have an opportunity to say why it's important for the track. And at the beginning, the answer is so I can sell you more stuff that you'll like, or, you know, so we can show you products and services.
More personalized ads.
More personalized ads, all that kind of stuff. And some people, oh, I'd like that. And some people say, no, I don't want that. As it goes on, though, you'll probably find, similar to the GDPR, like, see, everybody gets a pop-up or a lot of pop-ups at the bottom. Do you want to accept cookies or not? And it's really challenging. And at the beginning, people might invest, which ones do I want? Which ones do I want? Will it affect my experience? Now, at least for myself, I was like, oh, whatever. Accept. Just, I want to get, you notice actually the interesting thing about the website pop-ups is some of them just like fill up half the screen.
Oh yeah, they take up the huge page. They load
like,
slowly.
You're not going to be able to use this until you say accept.
Well, it's funny too, not to go on a side tangent here, but I remember when that first started, at first I was kind of excited because I felt a certain sense of like, oh, the website cares about me and what I want. For me anyway, it started getting kind of annoying because it's just like every website you go to, it's like, oh, there's another pop-up and another thing. It has to load and it takes up the whole page. And then I have to hit accept. And it's just like, and it's like every time, and it's just like, now my whole experience of being on the internet, I feel like is just more frustrating.
Yeah. And so I think people just getting kind of trained to just accept that prior to this happening might tip the needle a little bit for more people accepting the iOS, but it is a big deal. Now, however, all it means is your advertising expenses might go up a little bit. And if you're a small business, there's actually 2 things I'm going to recommend. 2 major things for this. And it's first of all, get better at Facebook advertising, because there is stuff you can do, like literally Google iOS 14 advertising for marketers. What do I do? Do that, see what comes up with, and there'll be some things that you can do. But that's just you learning how to do this. Like, don't don't freak out. Like, just learn it slowly over a bit of time, especially if you're doing it yourself. Understand that you're just going to put more budget into advertising, probably. Facebook was already underpriced and was a good value to start with. So figure it out. It might be just a little bit more correct priced right now. You can also do stuff like just target Android users for now and leave off Facebook, iOS, if you want to maximize your bang for your buck. Having said that, though, iOS often has that sort of higher income range, so that they're a desired target for many, not all. And then the number one thing here across, like, and this goes all the time, is your brand is so important, and your ability to surprise and delight your customers, to amaze them, so that you have that connection with them and it's sticky. So in other words, the value of your existing customers has just gone up because the cost to acquire new customers has gone up. So therefore, whatever you can do to keep that customer, it was always important. It's just a little bit more so important now. So whatever it is, get them into a subscription service or figure out a way to do that surprise and delight. So if you've got somebody, you're a flower shop, find a way to give them half price flowers if they subscribe and they get it monthly, and every now and then give them a free extra one or that sort of thing.
Right. I was going to say, I think that makes the email list just that much more important, because again, then you own the customer there.
Yep. Email list, SMS list, pick up the phone list. Right. So let's put it this way. Each customer has always been precious, not just for the purchase. Actually, let's dig into that a little bit. So oftentimes you look at the cost of acquisition and your revenue based off what you got from that customer and all that type of stuff. And there's a little bit of an understanding that, my business is built off of word of mouth and I do a good job type of thing. However, each customer has that potential to leave you a review, be an amazing ambassador, to become a case study, to do more than just standard word of mouth, do more, like literally rave about you and promote you. And you see it in Facebook groups now these days, where it's like people are like so happy with a particular local store that they're shouting out and saying, hey, everybody, go check them out. They're so amazing. And whenever somebody says, hey, I need to have 3, 4, 5, 100 people, sometimes I've seen dig in, and they're all answering with their favorite vendors. So people are really engaged right now. So each customer that you've got, figure out how to make them really, really, really like you. And then figure out how to scale that. All right. So whatever that means, do you have promotions directly to them? Do you have that email newsletter that goes out and says you get this VIP thing for this month, whatever it happens to be. But start small, like start working with each one so you get the sense of what works and what doesn't, and then grow it. But your brand is the number one thing that is, well, let's put it this way. I remember when business Facebook pages were all the rage. And we had all sorts of techniques and tactics and all that kind of stuff. And then Facebook said, okay, you're going to have to pay money now to actually reach anybody who you just liked your Facebook page. Right? So things change. They're always changing. The only thing that is more sticky than any of the tactics that we have online is your brand. Because that's actually connecting with people. That's not just using a system that's in between you and the people. That's all this means. A little bit more expensive. Still do your Facebook advertising, so it's still a great platform. For now, things might adjust a little bit in the coming months and years or whatever. But yeah, figure out how to really, every client is precious. Just like you, people out there.
You're precious.
And you too, Arthur. You're precious too.
Yeah, it'll be really, really interesting to see how this grows and develops, and just how the market responds.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be some advertisers that just say, all right, we're pulling our ad spend here. So there may be some fluctuations.
All right. Okay. Okay. So we have Chantel Alexander in our audience here. Thank you for joining us from Montreal. Yes, I'm from Toronto. Where can we get paid for the ads that pass either on our time online? So the interesting thing about that, Chantel, and then we're gonna end the show. It's supposed to be a tight show. We're actually only 5 minutes over our center time. So the interesting thing is there are platforms out there. I think one of them is called Delphia, Delphia, who is recognizing that we're all being tracked. People are monetizing off of us. So how about we figure out a way to get that reinvest, like to give money to the people who are being tracked. So there is actually that kind of Delphia is a fintech one where they use that to invest in a portfolio for you. So it's kind of a mix between a stock investment thing and this sort of consumer tracking. Their big dream, and I don't know if they're not really there, they're kind of in the startup phase, but they're really cool. I actually know well, I believe he's one of the founders, somebody over there. And the idea is if you can get enough people on that platform, they'll be able to see trends in consumer behavior and then therefore maximize your investment. So if everybody's going to Starbucks for whatever reason, there seems to be an uptick, then that's a leading indicator that Starbucks is going to have a better quarterly result or something else like that. And therefore their stock will go up, that kind of thing. So so that's just one particular one, but yes, absolutely. Actually, that's a great point where Facebook right now, their only answer to why should we track you to be tracked? Because, well, I don't know, better advertising. Everyone like, yeah, that's not worth it. But there will be more incentives to allow yourself to be tracked because the data is so useful. And it could be you get money. It could be you don't have to pay. It could be like, so in other words, you can either pay $5 a month or you get it for free if you're willing to be tracked. Everybody, oh, I'll be tracked, that's fine. Or it could be bonuses. Like if you're allowed to be tracked, we're going to give you rewards. So Microsoft Bing right now has a reward program where you can you use Edge and you do this stuff and it gets them tracking data and you earn points. And as you earn points, you can cash them in for either a raffle ticket or an actual thing or whatever it happens to be. So all of these sorts of things are going to come into the marketplace. And sorry, yes, Delphia is Delphia. I think. Let me check.
That put an interesting idea into my head.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, go for it.
Well, so like let's just take YouTube for a minute to keep this simple, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because with YouTube, the model is content creators create content on YouTube. You as the viewer watch that content, and then an advertiser pays money, and then that money gets split up between the content creator, and then YouTube/Google takes a cut.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just had kind of this flash of like, what if the user also had like a financial account that they created, and so as they're watching content, that advertiser dollar, instead of, let's say, it gets normally is 50-50 content creator and Google, maybe it's not 30-30-30, but like a percentage of that then goes to the user for watching the content. And my mind was just spinning in terms of like, okay, if I as the watcher am getting paid to watch, well, I'm probably going to watch a lot more content. I'm going to spend more time on YouTube. I'm going to consume more content. And so then in terms of ad inventory, that increases the total inventory. So driving down advertising costs, making advertisers have a greater incentive to want to advertise because cost for each view goes down, and you just create this ecosystem where it's like, as the watcher, as the consumer, you have this incentive to like watch and consume more content because you're like, I'm getting paid for this. So it would create an interesting dynamic there.
So that already exists. It does already exist, and I've seen it many times. The challenge for that though is who are you targeting, and are they even really watching it? Right. So if a person is saying, I'm going to make money watching YouTube ads, like advertising, maybe they're not your target audience and probably aren't, but you start to end up paying just for, so there's an interesting nuance set for that. So I think if it's a very direct payout, it changes behavior, and it's probably going to mean that the advertising targeting is going to get skewed. So anyways, that's all to say, these ideas have been, I've seen that one played with. I doubt YouTube would do something like that. It just doesn't fit with their approach, right? Because one of the things that Google was successful with, including with very much with the search engine, was the reason why their search engine was valuable over Alta Vista and Hot Web and all that other kind of stuff, all those other search engines, Yahoo search, was because their main thing that they delivered to the person who was searching was good editorial validated stuff. And even the advertising need to hit quality scores and be valuable. And they would cost more if you were not as valuable for that user. Where the other ones, I could just pay. I can pay you $500. I can get top level banner, and that wouldn't work. You could have you could give Google less money, and your ad would do better than people paying more money because yours was more valuable. So Google's approach has been and tweaked. There's a lot of different nuances here because their approach was to provide value. So the same thing goes through YouTube. If there's too much and it's not valuable and it's skewing the value equations, that's probably not entirely where they would go. But other people definitely have. All right. So Chantal, you're saying, but I don't trust nothing of Microsoft. Totally appreciate that. And you know what? That's actually probably a little bit more of a legacy with Microsoft. Most out of all of the big tech companies, of which Microsoft is one of them, but Amazon and Facebook and all of them, Apple is more on the Microsoft side of things. Microsoft learned a lot of these lessons that these big companies are bumping up against when they had they got antitrust and they had to go to the government and they got in a lot of trouble. And so Microsoft, what I've observed is they're the ones that have actually been pretty steady through all of this stuff. They kind of get what not to do, where the other ones are a little bit more, woohoo, we're changing the internet and we can do whatever we want, a little bit. It feels like, at least. So anyways,
right.
That's it. So I'm going to ask you, do you want butterfly or do you want, I don't know what this is. This is a butterfly day. We're going to do butterfly. Let's go into our outro.
Let's fly away.
You've tuned in to COVID Marketing with Brent Kobayashi and Arthur Tutt, the show that supports small business not just to survive, but to thrive.
All right, great. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, you feel free to ask them in the comments. We'll go through, we'll answer them if we haven't already on the show. On next week's show, we have another question and answer about marketing, smorgasbordy type of thing, where we get into all of the stuff. This is actually, I think, a holdover of questions we couldn't answer from the Toronto School of Management, I guess 3 weeks ago. A lot of really good ones in there. I really wanted to answer them. So thanks for watching, everyone. Have a wonderful Tuesday. We'll see you next week. Arthur?